Justin went for an MRI, and he is going to be down for 2 days.
So just tightness,
He's got a little bit of a strain.
And David, I think someone ran bases today for the first time, so that was progress.
Yes, very good progress. We'll run him again tomorrow, and then try to amp it up effort-wise over the weekend.
Yep.
Terry, how much more involved, I mean, if at all, do you notice that Wheeler is from now till the time he got here, and specifically what he's seeing? Is it more demeanor, or is it more command, or a little bit of both?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think he's now knows he's a major league pitcher. I don't think he has to go out and prove anything. He knows he can get outs. He knows his stuff's good enough. He knows his command's good enough. And I think a lot of that has led to the fact that his demeanor now, he's, hey, look, I got to get prepared for a game and go about my job the way, everybody else. I don't have to come up and, strike guys out or try to get the attention of everybody. He's already got that. And so I think it's a combination.
And when you look at the body of work, and the numbers are good, I mean, is it a little better than you might have even reasonably hoped for?
It really is. And I was really concerned about when he first got here that, everybody was raring to go about this guy's, the arm and the velocity, and I was concerned that, hey, look, I think, he thinks he's got to strike guys out. He got it in a hurry, that he didn't have to. So, he's really done a lot better than I thought he was going to when he first got here, but he's a fast learner, which I've found out. So that's why I think going into next spring, knowing that he's going to be healthy, knowing that he's going to be in this rotation, that there's a couple things he needs to get. We'll work on a spring training that is going to make him better.
Yeah, Jared.
For someone like Zach who's never done it, how difficult is it to pitch this 6-month September for the first time?
Well, that's a real good question for the guys that have done it. I've never had to do it, but I just know that 6 month is difficult. The extra 30, 40 innings that you're going to pitch over a minor league season is a lot. Doesn't seem like a lot. The number doesn't seem like a lot. That's a lot. That's why, Jared, as we've been saying all along, you've got to start to address your, work, what you do to get ready for a game. Your sides. You don't have to put the effort in maybe that you did in April and May. You need to back off perhaps the number of pitches you throw on the side, the number of pitches you throw, period, the number of balls you throw, period. If you're not in shape 6 months in the season, all of a sudden they amp your running program up now is not going to help you. It's almost now, hey, look, I got to save my energy. This is, and especially like when you have an unexpected 92-degree day in September. He's going to need the energy for tonight. So that 6 month is. That's why I'm saying it's important for these guys to learn what it takes to play this extra month up here.
Chris?
David, when you say amp up over the weekend, is that just the rehab, and then is there a target date now, or?
Next, Mike.
Two things on Zach. First, do you have a target date for when his last start would be, or will that depend on how many innings he throws?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a target date for when Zach's last start will be, or will it depend on how many innings he throws?
It'll depend on how many innings he throws.
Okay. And then I know you said they're very different pitchers, Matt and Zach. At some point, Matt kind of developed a swagger about him. Do you know exactly when that was, and do you envision that, I guess, happening to Zach eventually developing something like that too, or do you think he's just not in this game?
Well, I don't know when it was that Matt. I think he had to get up here and prove himself first, and I think that that confidence, that self-confidence, is something that gives him that so-called swagger, as you say. He believes in himself and demands a lot of himself. And when he started this year, he was destined to show people he was real good, and he has. I think Zach got here obviously with the huge headlines preceding him. Thought he had to maybe live up to those, and I think he has. I don't think there's any question that people now say this guy's legit, even though he's not the same pitcher that Matt is. But he's still very, very good, very good. He's high ceiling, and again, I think the more confidence he has, I think you're going to see every so often him come out and show you that great arm, because I think the more he gets a confidence in his release point, and all his mechanics start coming together. This guy's, they're big and tall guys. It's those sometimes you worry about those guys losing their mechanics. They're so big and there's a lot of action involved. But you know, he's done great. And I think that, you know, next spring, when he walks into spring training, you'll see a little different character.
Go over here.
Terry, with Buck and Bird not on the team anymore and David injured, is there a little more pressure on you to mentor these young guys through the ups and downs of the major leagues, because there's not really a tremendous veteran presence for them to lean on?
Well, we still have some pretty good guys in that clubhouse. Dan Murphy would be one I would state fast. LaTroy Hawkins would be another. Having Tim Burdack up here helps. But no, our coaching staff is, you know, I think, again, you've got to, you know, certainly do a lot of patting on the back up here, because this is a tough time, and when there's some going through some failure, you got to give them the positives. Hey, you know, you're going to get better. You know, the more you play up here, and you're going to continue to play. You know, start taking into the game some of the things you're working on, some of the things you've been told about. You know, start applying them. So in next spring, it's not as difficult. But you know, this can be a tough time of year. But you know, my entire background's been in player development, so it's pretty much comes to the territory on a daily basis now.
Yeah, Howie.
Terry, considering that there are, you know, a certain number of questions that need to be answered in the off season, is there anything that Ruben can do over these final 2.5 weeks that would cement his status as the shortstop going into the winter and into spring training, or is he going to have to win that back starting from first day of spring training on?
You know, that's a question we've asked each other as a coaching staff. You know, what are we looking for out of Ruben in the last 2 weeks here, 2.5 weeks? One of the things is we want to see the player we saw 2 years ago, even if at this particular time. You know, we want to see that guy that's going to grind out at bat. That's going to take a base on balls after, you know, a 13 pitch at bat. To take that single over the second baseman's head in a key situation. The guy that when you hit the ball at the shortstop position, you're out. That he gets to it and he throws you out. And I want, you know, like Mike talks about swagger, I want to see that swagger that Ruben Tejada had a couple years ago. That, hey, look, I belong here. And, you know, I think a lot of that lead in, but, you know, certainly with the year he's had in you know, his time up here next spring, he's got to come in ready to play. I don't think there's any, you know, there's a lot of these guys that are here right now that have, you know, when they come into spring training, you're going to have to earn a job.
Yeah, Jorge.
Terry, you mentioned last night you'd like to see Ben Decker against lefties. You guys say giving him a chance, maybe?
No, I said I'd like to see, we need to get him better against lefties.
Okay. So you're not going to give him a chance against lefties?
Well, again, you know, I don't know how many times I have to say this. We have other guys in this team we need to see play too. Some of them are right-handed, you know, as we go down the road. They're not just one guy. And so, you know, we've tried to, when Matt's been in the game, in certain situations, we've let him face left-handers. But I want to get Andrew Brown in there. Here's a guy that's put together a pretty good season. A guy that doesn't play much. You know, he's dangerous. He's got power. Is he going to fit on this team? And the only way to find out is his background has been left-handed pitching. So I don't know where to play him if you know, we don't have the DH anymore. So I got to get him in some games.
Howie? Yeah.
Terry, I know some of this also depends on, you know, who you acquire during the off season, but do you have a feel yet for where you think ultimately Juan Lagares, assuming he's an everyday player, is going to fit best in your lineup in the batting order?
I do not. I don't. You know, again, I think it's difficult. As you know, as young as he is, you know, he's going to get stronger. It's difficult to say where he's going to be. Is he going to be a guy that's, you know, going to show that power more consistently? I do like him at the top of the order, especially when he's, you know, as we've seen it sometimes this year, where he has gone to the opposite field so well. I'd like to see that, and I know he can do it. So, and with his foot speed, that'd be a good spot for him.
If he becomes ultimately a 15, 18 home run guy, if that's even feasible, where will that come from? Where will he have to go to get from the handful that he's hit so far this year to where he might be able to hit 15, 18, somewhere in that neighborhood? What's the process that will enable him to get
Well,
there?
I mean, you just got to swing and strikes. That's the best thing, is get swinging pitches you can handle. And as we've seen, a lot of young players, and it's very, very, you know, happens everywhere. You know, they're very anxious at times here, so they get they kind of venture out of the strike zone sometimes. So I think that when Juan starts to get confidence that, hey, I can hit with 2 strikes, or I can hit behind an account, and still take good swings without just trying to, you know, put the ball in play, I think you'll see those home runs, because I think the power's in there.
One more, Josh?
Terry, knowing that what you said about not getting too high or low off of September performances, I'm just wondering back from your days at other places, did you have a guy that was out of organization or two that you hadn't seen before, that in September opened your eyes to the point where you're thinking, you know what, it wasn't on my mind, but I like it, or does that not happen that often?
You know, not a lot, Josh. In the other places I've managed, you know, we were in a pennant race in September. So we didn't get, a lot of young guys didn't get a lot of playing time. So it was a little different situation.
Okay. What's the last one? Oh, yeah, Ben, sorry.
Terry, just with all the daily duties of being ready to play tonight's game, at any point you pause today and just think about everything that happened involved with 9/11? Do you maybe talk with your coaches or any players, any remembrances?
Well, I mean, I don't, we certainly, you know, we have our two televisions on in the clubhouse, and MLB today was certainly, you know, doing a lot of tributes to 9/11, and so, you know, it's one of those dates in history where you're always going to know where you were, and you're going to remember what you felt like. You know, as you go through life, and you look back upon a lot of things, a lot of times you don't really know how you felt. You'll always know how you felt on 9/11. So this day does mean a lot to a lot of people. Obviously, my time here, I've become very, very good friends with a number of policemen in the local precincts where I live, and you know, and so you know how dedicated they are to their jobs, and so this day is always going to be special in the minds. And obviously, I think what you're hearing on all the sports shows today, you know, sports allows us to forget some tough times, and certainly the Mike Piazza home run stands out. You know, I was at Yankee Stadium, the first game back in Yankee Stadium, and you know, having a pitcher walk out with that policeman hat or the fire department hat on, I mean, the place went crazy. So it always is going to have a great meaning, and I think the players that, you know, our guys are all old enough that they still remember where they were too. So, you know, in a few years, those guys won't remember where they were. You know, there may be some discussions at that time, not by me, but by others.
Everybody, thank you, sir.
Yeah.